The propaganda wing of the Republican Party, Fox News, has now decided that their main criticism of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will be that she's unintelligent.
Big league.
Now, I personally find this strategy pretty interesting, given that they reliably and constantly do propaganda for Donald Trump, who is the leader of the Republican Party and quite literally the dumbest president in American history. But nonetheless, they're going to tell us how stupid our favorite politician is. Here's what they say.
Democratic darling Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez taken to task, getting fact-checked for gaffes like these.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. I think what I meant is like the settlements. I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue. Unemployment is low because everyone has two jobs. Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and it will not always exist in the world.
Medicare for all is actually much cheaper than the current system that we pay right now.
Really? Well, the Washington Post revealed that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's gaffes are not just embarrassing, they're actually wrong. The New York Socialist firing back, claiming, yes, sexism.
That's right. Social media stars and Trump supporters Diamond and Silk join us now to react. Welcome to you both, ladies. Thanks for being here. So, a socialist from the Bronx says a bunch of crazy stuff that she clearly doesn't know enough about. The Washington Post fact checks her. They always do that to conservatives. They finally do it once to a socialist. They find at least 5 claims to be false. She says, you can't say that about me. That's sexist. What do you make of that?
Well, see, that's what they do. And this is what Democrats do. First, they play the race card. And when that don't work, now they play the sexist card. That's what Hillary Clinton did when she said, women didn't want to vote for her. But here's the deal. This young lady, I wonder if she's smarter than a 5th grader. I wish she would debate a 5th grader, and let's see how smart she is. But what the views that she's spewing, this is the Democratic mindset. Poverty, slavery, somebody to have their finger to control you.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right. This is their mindset.
Yeah.
And listen, she is like the gift that keeps on giving to the Republican Party. We want her to keep talking because we're listening.
Don't shut up.
Yeah.
So, first of all, the gaffes that they list here are just comical because most of what she said are not gaffes at all. They're true. So they took issue with her saying that capitalism hasn't always existed and it won't always exist. That's just a statement that's half true and half highly probable. And the same is true for other types of political institutions. Throughout history, we've seen politics and institutions and forms of government change and evolve. So it's probably the case that since capitalism is such a flawed and predatory system, there's probably going to be a different system that comes along one day that will replace capitalism. If you study political science, you know that nothing is static. Everything in politics is dynamic. Everything changes. So it's really not a controversial statement if you actually know what you're talking about. But this is Fox News, so they took offense to it because they worship capitalism. She also was criticized by them by saying that Medicare for all will cost less than our current healthcare system. That's a fact if you take the word of a Koch-funded study. The Mercatus Center found that our current system actually costs more than a Medicare for all system. See, in any other instance, they take what the Koch brothers say as gospel, but since the Koch brothers funded a study that actually yields results that they don't like, well, all of a sudden they want to challenge it. And they're chalking what Ocasio-Cortez said in citing said study up to a gaffe, which is hilarious to me. Now, the Fox host implied that Ocasio-Cortez stated that fact-checking her is sexist. But she didn't say that. And I actually don't know what quote in question they're talking about because she never explicitly said, if you fact-check me, you're sexist, because of course that would be ridiculous. Now, one point that I think maybe they're referring to is that she invoked gender when she mentioned the double standard with regard to how she's being treated for making small mistakes compared to how Jim Inhofe was treated when he idiotically thought he could disprove climate change by bringing a fucking snowball to the Senate floor. Now, we all just saw how they responded to Ocasio-Cortez's small gaffes, but this is how the same show, Fox and Friends, responded when Jim Inhofe made his gaffe.
So it's very, very cold out, very unseasonal. So here, Mr. President, catch this.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, that's Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe using a snowball on the floor of the Senate to make his point about global climate change. The whole country seems to be blanketed in the white stuff, this during global warming.
It's pretty cold out there. Here in Oklahoma, there's even snow on the ground.
So, Senator, apart from the temperature or even the climate, I mean, the questions outstanding are, what is causing change to the climate? Is it actually human activity doing so? And is there anything we can do to reverse it? Why isn't there a greater public debate on these questions? Why do they try to shut down debate?
Let me tell you why there's not a debate now, because the debate really is over.
So Jim Inhofe could do one of the dumbest things ever on the Senate floor, and they'll bring him on and coddle him when he receives criticism and call him awesome. But if Ocasio-Cortez admits that she's not an expert on a particular issue, she's the biggest idiot ever according to them. See why this is a double standard and how she's right to call it out? And regardless of whether or not Ocasio-Cortez should have invoked gender or not, let's not pretend that Republicans don't also do this, because in trying to push Gina Haspel down our throats, what did Donald Trump do? He invoked gender when he was trying to get her confirmed as the new CIA director, when in actuality, none of us cared about her gender. Bloody Gina Haspel committed crimes against humanity, but Donald Trump wanted to distract us from that by invoking gender. And especially if you criticize Israel, you're automatically anti-Semitic. So they don't get to denounce identity politics while their side still does it constantly. You don't get to do that. So, it's just more hypocrisy. But getting to Diamond and Silk and what they said, now for the record, I don't know which one is Diamond and I don't know which one is Silk. So going forward, I will just refer to them as Dilk. This is Dilk 1 and this is Dilk 2 because that's just easiest for me. So Dilk 1 said, "This young lady, I wonder if she's smarter than a fifth grader." You wonder if she's smarter than a fifth grader. Do you really, let me ask you this, Dilk 1, you really want to talk about the intelligence of politicians as passionate Donald Trump supporters? Probably the dumbest president in American history who literally speaks at a fourth grade level? Are you positive that you actually want to start talking about the intelligence of politicians we both support? Because I can assure you that anyone you support on the right is going to be exponentially more stupid than anyone on the left. I mean, take the dumbest Republicans, Donald Trump, Louie Gohmert, and compare them to the dumbest Democrats like Joe Manchin. They're still leagues ahead of the Republican in terms of intelligence, and Joe Manchin is a pretty dumb guy. But regardless, he's still a lot smarter than Louie Gohmert. So, I mean, after stumping for Donald Trump, now you have the nerve to claim, or question rather, if Ocasio-Cortez is smarter than a fifth grader when the person who you support and do propaganda for doesn't even speak at a fifth grade level. I mean, if you truly want to go this route and criticize the intelligence of politicians, I'm 100% down for that game, because I can guarantee you it's not going to go too well for you. Now, as Dilk proceeded to talk about how stupid Ocasio-Cortez was, they went on to make a point that absolutely made no sense. So I believe it was Dilk 1 who said, "The views that she's spewing, this is the Democratic mindset. Poverty, slavery, somebody to have their finger to control you." Now, if you're going to criticize somebody else's intelligence, you should try and at least make an attempt, really, to refrain from making word salad yourself, because that made no fucking sense whatsoever. None. And she said this of Ocasio-Cortez: "Listen, she's like the gift that keeps on giving to the Republican Party. We want her to keep talking." Well, there's one thing that we both agree on. I definitely want her to keep talking, because the policy she's talking about, regardless if you want to admit it or not, regardless if this fact causes you to have cognitive dissonance, they're actually overwhelmingly popular. And if there's anything that you should know specifically, Dilk, it's that if someone who's really, really dumb keeps talking, that's not necessarily going to turn off the American people.
Big league.
But lucky for us, Ocasio-Cortez actually isn't dumb. She's actually very smart. And the thing with right-wingers is that they are doing everything in their power to delegitimize someone who's clearly a force in politics right now. So if she doesn't speak with the utmost specificity every single time she speaks, and if she doesn't claim to be knowledgeable of every single political issue ever, then they're going to pounce on her at every opportunity that they have. That's what right-wingers are trying to do because they clearly see her as a threat to their political success. Now, I do want to share what Ocasio-Cortez said in response to all of the criticism that she's receiving because I really think that she made an excellent point. She states, "At yesterday's town hall, someone asked how I, as just a human, am dealing with the hate, subconscious bias, and criticism. I've been told my whole life I'm not up to snuff. Folks always doubt my worthiness until I get it done. Tune it out, stay focused and positive, keep pushing." And I cannot tell you how much I love this response. Because she's aware of the criticism, but I think that she's grown up being underestimated. So she works well under pressure like this, and it's not going to get to her. It's not going to get her down. She's proving that she is a force, and she's becoming one of the most popular politicians in the country. So regardless of how vocal Republicans get about just how stupid they think she is, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, what she's saying about policies, well, that resonates with the American people. Americans want Medicare for all, tuition-free public colleges and university, a federal jobs guarantee, which has a majority of support in all 50 states, including red states. So you can try to delegitimize her by being laser-focused on every single gaffe she makes, but the problem is that you've kind of already revealed your cards here. You like stupid politicians. So if we follow your logic, given how dumb Donald Trump is, then you should be loving what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has to say. But we all know that she's not stupid, and you hate her because she's a threat to you and your side. So, they can keep trying to criticize her, and Republicans can compare her to the Sarah Palin or call her the Sarah Palin of the left, rather. It doesn't matter because the policies are what matters to Americans. And at the end of the day, she's giving Americans concrete policy ideas that will actually improve their lives. And that's a winning strategy.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.